present the recap of the last class. So in the previous class, we discussed about decision making. So why do we need to make a decision? Is it because of a problem or an opportunity? Well, the answer is kind of both. Problem is an opportunity in disguise, and we have the ability to convert problem into an opportunity. Sir gave an example of himself how he was a chalk and board kind of teacher, but when the pandemic struck, he had to change his approach. So the corona pandemic gave him the opportunity to explore more about online teaching. Well, the decision are of two types: program decision and non-program decision. Program decision are of a routine decision. It follows rules and regulations. For example, when an education institution conducts an exam, it can be called as program decision. And non-program decision are more of a hunch and intuition based. Sir gave an example of a VC how he convinced everyone to add hospital administration course in our MBA curriculum. Well, the next question is how do we make a decision? So every decision is based on a decision making models. There are basically three decision making models: rational model, bounded rationality model, and heuristic model. In rational model, we make sure we are making the best choice, and the steps involved in the rational model are internal assessment. Well, in internal assessment, we assess our own strength and weakness. Market assessment, assessing the credibility of the course, and the third one is generating alternatives. It's like from where we will do our MBA from. And the fourth one is evaluation of alternative. Well, evaluation on the basis of core strength of the faculty and the cost of the course. And the fifth one is selection of the best alternatives. The second model is bounded rationality model. Bounded rationality model says we aspire to be rational, but because of the lack of information and lack of time and resources to indulge in that kind of information search, we settle to the optimum decision, which can also be called satisficing. Satisficing, it means an option which gives sufficient satisfaction rather than maximum satisfaction. And the third model is heuristic model. The decisions are influenced by prejudice and stereotypes in the heuristic model. We will learn more about the heuristic model in today's class. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Zubair Hawari and I will be presenting today's recap. In the last class, we had some reflections of the previous class that we are the master of our own desire and there is a lack of desires which prevents us from achieving what we wish for. We learned by the example of Sir Syed how he worked hard in such an adverse situation when your own community, when your own people against you, yet you achieve your dream. जिसको नाकामी समझ लेते हैं कुछ कम हिम्मत, वो तो बस उनके इरादों की थकन होती है. Let's move on discussing the next topic which we had, that is decision making, in which we make choices. And when do we make choices? There are two situations basically. Either we are faced with a problem or we have an opportunity. Problem creates technically a roadblock to our desired state, and the opportunity provides an occasion to go beyond the desired state. We all have the and all is in mind. How do we make choices? So we discussed types of decision, that first being the programmed and another one is non-programmed decision. The former is based on certain rules, certain conventions. There are a set of rules, and the other one is based on intuition and what we call sixth sense. For example, if the university administration decides to admission or classes, then it will be a program decision. And if it decides to have a new department or a new hall of residence, it will be a novel or non-program decision. Then how do we make choices? There are several models, first being the rational model of decision making, in which there are several steps involved. First, we assess or identify the problem, then we develop some alternative, we evaluate those alternatives, and then we finalize or implement our decision. For example, our own MBA program, first we would have assessed our capabilities, our weakness, our strengths, our financial capacities, the available institutions. Then we would have made our mind and enrolled in our MBA program. Then this model was challenged by two other models, first being the bounded rationality given by Simon, in which he argues that the ability to access all the information available is somehow limited. We have time foundation, we have resource foundation, and even if we achieve all the information available, then to process it and extract a useful result, this ability is somehow also limited. We discussed a concept called satisficing, in which we talk about sufficient satisfaction. That is, we optimize our satisfaction and do not maximize it. The another model being heuristics, in which we talk about certain set of thumb rules. There are certain stereotypes, certain perceptions depending upon people. For example, Sir shared his own past experience that girls are more trustworthy than boys. This could not be true for everyone, yet it could have an impact on his decisions. Everyone has his own point of view, his own perception, his own stereotypes and exceptions also. We do not see the things they are, but the way we are. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Zubair and Shazar. By the way, both of you, can you specify your locations also? Shazar, you are speaking from which place?
Kolkata, sir.
Kolkata. And what about you, Zubair?
Sir, Jharkhand, Ranchi.
Jharkhand. Quite far from here. Anyway, I think this was a good recap. Uh, Especially Zubair, you did a very good job in terms of providing a very comprehensive coverage to the content that was covered in the previous class. And Shazar, you also did a good job. But I think you need to pace down a bit. You are slightly fast paced. And
Okay, sir.
as regards the content, I think we had discussed heuristics model. Maybe we did not finish it, bring it to the logical end, but we did discuss what are heuristics and how we make our thumb rules. So content wise, I think you could have enriched the whole thing further. Like for example, the concept of satisficing that we discussed in the context of the bounded rationality model. That was an important construct where the idea is that we go for an option which affords or gives us sufficient satisfaction. Not full satisfaction or maximum satisfaction, but at least sufficient satisfaction. So now let us conclude our discussion on heuristics. So I told you that we do have our heuristics. All of us have it, whether we accept it or not. But we make judgments about others. Those judgments may be based on gender. For example, I shared with you this stereotype that we have. The girls are not meant for mathematics. Don't you think this is a kind of notion that many of us carry, or many families carry? Maybe it is getting weakened now, but is it not one of the notion? And I give you the concrete example of it, that if you visit the Department of Mathematics, you will hardly find 3 to 4% female teachers. Mostly it would be male teachers. And this would be very unlike the converse, the English department, where you have almost 60% of the teachers as female teachers. So is it not so that somehow, somewhere down the line, the families have taken a decision to, dissuade, if I can use that term, dissuade girls from studying mathematics? Or this was something which was, fed into their mind that mathematics is not for them? So we have our stereotypes. We have, whether we accept it or not, and they at times becomes our heuristics. So we make good judgments, or we make judgments based on those things. So what are the specific heuristics? Let us come to that. One of the heuristics I've already talked about is the representativeness. Representativeness, what does that mean? We associate characteristics of a certain class on all the people belonging to that class. So if we have this judgment, yes, girls can't study mathematics. So if we encounter a girl, suppose the girl approaches me for career counseling, and I have this heuristics in my mind that mathematics is not for her, I will end up advising her to not to take up mathematics. So heuristics actually representativeness. We associate characteristics of the class to every individual of that class. And we have often encountered such heuristics in Aligarh also. People do make judgments based on, let us say, region you come from. So Western UP people are like that, Eastern UP people are like that, Bihar, Bengal, Kerala, Kashmir, they are like that. So we do make judgments. So this is a heuristic which we call representativeness. We make heuristics or such kind of judgments about religious groups also, caste groups, linguistic groups. So the question is, we will come to that question whether it is good to have heuristics or not good to have heuristics. But the second heuristics is what we call past experience, availability of some experience. Now availability generally depends on our past association with that particular thing. For example, suppose I told you that heuristics which I might carry, that girls are more trustworthy than boys. So if I have to take a decision to lend my book, I will give it to a girl but not to a boy. Now this is based on maybe my past experiences, what we call availability. So if my past experience makes this available to me, that I have been many a times duped by the male students of my class, and they took the book and never returned. So will that not guide my heuristics? So I may take up decisions based on my availability of past experience. Now उसमें भी there are two aspects availability का या past experience का. One is the issue of recentness. Suppose I have had a bad experience with boys during last 1 or 2 years. So that recentness also affects our availability. The second dimension is even more important, and that is called vividness. There are some experiences which we tend to not forget. It stays. For example, people, if you ask your grandparents, you are blessed with their presence in the house, and you ask them about the experience of partition, for example. Now that was a very, very moving experience. Those who have faced it, it is a vivid thing in their memory. So many a times when we used to talk in 70s and 80s, when we used to talk about national integration, often people would comment that let this generation pass, which has experienced the tragedy from very close quarter, because their judgments, they get blurred because of the vivid experience the partition provided to them. Some good, some bad, isn't it? So I have a friend in Delhi, Mr. Satish Chopra. Even now, when he talks about Lahore, from where he came to Delhi, I mean, there will be tears in his eyes when he would describe his city, Lahore. And once it so happened, one of his friend was traveling to Lahore. He drew a map, gave the exact location of his house, and requested him that when you come back, bring a picture of my house for me. Such is the kind of attachment he has for that thing, and he is not able to overcome the trauma which he faced during those turbulent times. Likewise, for example, those who have witnessed Gujarat tragedy. For example, we had a massive earthquake in Gujarat in 2002. Now, people even now remember and don't forget that kind of experience. So, availability has two dimensions. One, the recentness of the experience, and more importantly, the vividness of the experience. How powerful that experience was. Then the next heuristics, I've already told you, the representativeness. We often, in when you will study OB, it will be called stereotyping. Stereotyping is when we stereotype a group and say, okay, all girls are like that, all boys are like that. The third heuristics is again in a way past experience only, but a different word is given to it, and it is called anchoring. What is an anchor? Anchor is the reference point. Is it? So this kind of the explanation of anchoring is that we all have some anchors. Those anchors are based on certain common, let us say, standards. For example, when we were deciding for an architect for our new management complex, and we have had one of our old student who was offering services as PMC, project management company, for the project. We said we have to hire an architect. How do we go about doing it? And at what rate we will be able to hire? Then he said, I will give you 4 or 5 names, people who have earned credibility and who would do a good job. So you have to hire from amongst them. Then I said, but at what rate? And he said the going rate in the industry is that architects generally charge an amount ranging from 2.5% to 3% of the project cost. So if your project is 10 crores, you may have to pay roughly around 25 lakhs. 25 lakhs to 30 lakhs, and you have to negotiate with this. So that provided us an anchor, a reference point. So when we negotiated the rates with the architect, we were operating in this range. So this heuristics, the explanation of it is that people don't pull out decisions out of thin air, out of nowhere. They have a reference point. And that reference point is often maybe some norm, some industry norm, something which has been, practiced over the years. And that anchor becomes the basis of our heuristics. Now the question before you or before us is Is it good to take decisions on the basis of heuristics? What are the pluses? But what could be the minuses? Can we have some inputs from the group on this account? Are heuristics good or bad?
So it depends if the belief is positive or not.
Can you elaborate?
But some beliefs are based on the studies performed, like women are not good in mathematics. It is due to the evolution in the psychology. There have been studies by many researchers that shows that women are not much good in accepting challenges. I have read some studies regarding that.
So you mean some kind of scientific evidence?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Some studies performed like that.
And what do you do when you have contradictory evidence?
That means that the stereotype doesn't carry much weight.
Any other observation?
Sir,
Yes.
I want to relate it with the history. Sir, we read history because so that we can should not make any mistake in future that has made in the past. So it is right to have history model.
Okay, that's a good observation. Why do we study history? And it is the famous quote goes like this, that those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. Isn't it? So history gives us some guidelines. So the observation of Taj is that what is your depth of experience? And if you have made your judgment based on really years of experience, and in that you must have encountered some contradictory experience also. So you then overall make a judgment. Okay, by and large, it seems to be like this. And in fact, that is why it is said that good judgment always comes out of bad judgments. So we make judgments, then we assess whether our judgments were correct, and then we modify our approach. And this could be a good way. In fact, this approach to decision making is called the devil's advocate approach. And who is a devil? The devil questions everything. So it is good to have, especially in the organizations, it is good to have the alternate viewpoint also raised, so that assumptions come out in open. We all make assumptions. For example, we can have an assumption, for example, all of you, when you opted for MBA, you had an assumption. The assumption was that corporate sector is a thriving sector and it provides job opportunities, isn't it? Is that not the assumption? Based on that, you have taken a decision? Those who have taken a decision based on, let us say, join hospital administration course, they must have taken that decision based on the assumption that healthcare sector is going to witness a rise in years to come. But sometimes our assumptions may not be correct. So, for example, this entire assumption that corporate sector is a rising sector in the wake of pandemic has proved to be a wrong assumption. If not wrong, at least incorrect assumption, or not fully correct assumption. So we make an assumption of expanding economy, but if the economy shrinks because of some external reasons, your assumptions prove incorrect. So we need to have an open mind on issues. Any heuristics which is guided too heavily by our own judgments may not be a good heuristics. So what are the negatives?
Sir, also the pro can be, sir, we can take quick decisions based on our stereotypes.
Yes, I think the biggest advantage of heuristics is that it simplifies the decision-making process.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? And
Yes,
we can take, one part of it is we can take quick decisions. So I was referring to that company based in Jaipur. Now, it could be subject to question whether their assumptions about a particular caste are correct. But it simplifies decision making for them.
But sir, isn't it wrong?
Huh?
But sir, isn't it wrong to have a particular stereotype mindset? For example, girls can't do mathematics or don't have a problem solving ability, or that company.
See, I will share with you two adages which crystallize or put these ideas into two very distinct perspectives. One says mind is like a parachute. Mind is like a parachute. It works only when it is open. Isn't it? Second says some minds are like concrete, thoroughly mixed up and permanently set. So the question is, do we have an open mind? If we encounter a contrary evidence, are we ready to revisit our heuristics? And as Dr. Zareen says, the frequency of occurrence. If we have faced with the heuristics, let us say 10 times, and it has proved correct, then our faith in that heuristics may be strengthened. But if there is a contrary evidence, at least our mind should be open to accept that contrary evidence also. It should not be a situation where, as they say, it is permanently set. अब उसमें कोई चेंज नहीं आ सकता. That is why, retooling of mind is the toughest thing for a manager. So we do encounter facts which challenge us, and do we make?
Because,
Yes.
sir, how these prejudices make in our society?
Pardon?
I mean, they are, how these prejudices happen to our society. I mean, how they are made.
Again, popular mass culture also plays a very important role in that, and
I mean, sir,
especially
there should be some experiences based on that people believing something.
often such things are based on our limited experience. That is what I'm saying. And if we start presuming that those limited experiences are the experiences, then there is a problem. Isn't it?
Yes.
So yes, past does guide our what kind of life we have lived, and often we have, as I said, contradictory experiences. For example, we have the experience of a country like South Africa. Now, South Africa is one country despite differences. As opposed to that, we have USSR, which is splitting and splitting and splitting. When we have experiences like this, we need to have an open mind to at least assess why some countries survive. And that is why what Lalit said is very important. What kind of lessons do we draw from history? And that is why studying of history it makes us wise, provided we draw right kind of lessons. लेकिन क्या होता है कि इंडिविजुअल्स की भी साइके होती है और कौमों की भी साइके होती है. आप देखिए सिकंदर, अलेक्जेंडर जिसको हम कहते हैं बादशाह था, कितना उसने दुनिया को फतह किया, है ना? तो अब उसकी लाइफ से हम क्या लेसन ड्रॉ करें? एक फकीर जो है वो लेसन ये ड्रॉ करता है उससे. आपने अक्सर फकीरों को ये गाना गाते हुए सुना होगा कि साहब सिकंदर जब गया दुनिया से दोनों हाथ खाली थे. तो वो उससे ये लेसन ड्रॉ करते हैं कि ये जो वर्ल्डली परसूट्स हैं वो कुछ भी नहीं है. तो कहीं ना कहीं देखिए कौमों की साइके होती है, इंडिविजुअल्स की साइके होती है. एक वाइज इंसान वो है जो अपने जहन को खुला रखता है, और जब उसको कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी एक्सपीरियंस मिले तो कम से कम गौर करे, रिविजिट करे अपने ह्यूरिस्टिक्स. दैट इज द मिनिमम आई वुड एक्सपेक्ट. तो एडवांटेजेस भी हैं, जाहिर है डिसएडवांटेजेस भी हैं. If they are overdone, anything which is overdone is harmful. So, Dr. Zareen, can we have that PPT which we have prepared? Is it possible for you to run it?
Yes, sir. Sure.
That would be a summary of the last two classes that we have had.
Right, sir.
And in the meanwhile, you can also provide some explanations if required based on that PPT.
So this is the PPT we prepared.
Yes. So this is what we have discussed the context. When do we take a decision? Either we have a problem at hand or we have an opportunity. And I have made a distinction between problem and opportunity. But we also discussed this point that, often they are two faces of the same coin. I remember one vice chancellor, there was an agitation going on, and in front of his lodge, there was a tambu, a tent, and agitating students were there, sitting over there. And as it happens, by the night time, many agitators leave. So there were only selected few agitators who were more committed. They also slept by 2 a.m. They don't know what happened, but the vice chancellor sneaked into their tent and slept there only. And when they woke up in the morning, they found the vice chancellor comfortably sleeping alongside. Now they were taken aback by this turn of event. They had never expected it. Then the vice chancellor woke up and he said, "Oh, good." In fact, he said, "I was thinking, when my kids are sleeping outside, how can I sleep in the comfort of my house? And I thought I should be with you. So I came. And trust me, I've never had a better sleep in my night. Ever. It was the most satisfying sleep I've had. So fulfilling sleep I have had." And that changed the entire ambience. And he said then, "Okay, now let us come to the lodge. Let us have breakfast together." And he invited everyone. And that just changed the ambience. So there was a problem which was converted into an opportunity to build rapport with the students. So often, opportunities are problems only, but they are in disguise. And it is our job to convert a problem into an opportunity. Next. So we told you about these types of decisions, managerial decisions. So there are two types of decisions primarily which managers take. The program decisions, they have already been elaborated by your friends. So for routine matters, and in organizations, 80% or 90% of the matters are actually routine matters. It has already been practiced in the past. So there are unconventional, unwritten conventions, or often elaborate rules, whatever is the case. So there are either conventions or there are elaborate rules. And based on that, the decisions are taken. So if we can use technology, or if we can automate such decisions, helps. For example, inventory decisions. We have a indicator. Whenever the level of inventory drops beyond a particular point, there will be a siren, for example. If this needs replenishment. So the beauty of managerial approach in such a situation is, how can you take those decisions with minimum of human intervention. But there are non-programmed decisions which require judgments, and such decisions are often irreversible. So for example, your decision to get into MBA course is an irreversible decision. Now you will not be able to change to some other stream. For example, somebody had an option to go for MTech after engineering. But once he has taken this decision, now that option is closed for him. So we rely heavily on our judgments, our intuitions. And often the model of decision making that we have talked about, or we'll talk about, actually apply to non-programmed decisions. Next, please. So it says the same thing in a different way. So for non-programmed decisions, the problem is a very novel, unique, complex. You all know how was it easy to take a decision to get into MBA for you? So there are complex problems and we solve them through a very structured approach. और उसमें जैसे अभी बात आ रही थी कि जितना भी हम लोग साइंस का इस्तेमाल कर सकें उतना अच्छा है, जितना उसको क्वांटिफाई कर सकें, जितना उसको डेटा सपोर्टेड कर सकें, it is good for us. So for example, the decision of the university to start a new dental college, that was a non-program decision. Or starting an MBA course in hospital administration, that was a non-program decision. But each year university admits students and processes admission applications. Now that's a routine matter. Next, please. I think this process we have already elaborated orally, but now you have it in the written form. Especially the decision which we call the rational model of decision making. So I have already told you that when there is a problem or an opportunity, so problem identification is the starting point of any decision. Problem identification or opportunity finding. So how do you know that there is a problem? Whenever there could be many triggers. For example, one being our performance deviates from the past. In one of the batch, our problem was that generally when we announce test, the students appear, barring a few who may have a very pressing personal issue, like they may be sick or something. But in one batch, we experienced that around 25% of the students are missing the sessionals, routine sessionals. So it was a deviation from the past. And naturally, when there is a deviation of this type, we have a problem at hand. Often, other people's perspective also help us understand. So there was a lot of criticism in the university about the way that particular batch was admitted. The list of aspirants for the MBA, actually that year a combined test was thought to be conducted for MBA, MFC, MPA and all kind of such courses. And the idea was to actually, when we look back, the idea was to expand the list of the written candidates, the candidates who have qualified the written test. So people criticize that, and that helped us understand that we need to revisit our admission approach. And naturally, when such a situation is there, the other management institutes, when they are doing well and we do not do well, it is an indication that we have a problem at hand. So often what happens is that when there is a problem, we often confuse between symptoms and the problem. So for example, in this case, students not writing sessional tests, it was not the problem, it was only the symptom of the problem. The problem was deeper. The problem was in the admission process. how it was maneuvered. So we have difficulties in identifying the problem correctly. And as they say, well begun is half done. Then I've already told you about developing alternatives and evaluating those alternatives. You must have taken that decision in the context of your own MBA. So the rational models would say that you have to develop all alternatives and evaluate them against your decision criteria. For example, your decision criteria may say that I will go only for governmental institutions, not private institutions. So that would, limit your options to only governmental setups. There also you may have a ceiling. You may say, okay, only those which are affordable to me, and affordable is this criteria for me. So we develop alternatives, we evaluate, and then finally we implement and monitor the decision. So this is the process of decision making. Any other slide? Yes. This also we have already discussed in great detail, the bounded rationality model and the heuristics. So Zareen ma'am, I request you to kindly share it with the students, so that they can peruse it at leisure also.
I have already sent the PPT on WhatsApp group.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
So thank you very much. I think we are through.